Hey,
Hello, hello, hello.
how are you?
I am doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm super excited.
Excited as well. I've been
um, let me get everything set up. All
I
right.
got the head wrap going thing going on. Yours matches my
See.
voice.
Hey.
Aesthetic.
All right. Okay. So, just to start things off, this is the Iconoclast series. Um, we're continuing this in 2021, and thank you. The reason why I started this series to begin with is because I wanted to hold space for individuals that break the mold of what we consider to be the standard, what's considered okay, what's considered normal in our society. And there are people that don't want to fit that mold. And you specifically, Jackie, are somebody that I know strives to just be their most authentic self and to be nothing but an original. So, yeah, I just want you to have this space to share. The theme of this particular live is about authenticity, the steps towards that, how you've gotten there, what hardships you faced, and really anything else. This is free space for you. So, whenever you're ready.
Okay. So I did my due diligence and I wrote like some notes and I tried to section off all my thoughts because I'm the type of person whose brain goes 1,000 miles per hour. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if I pause, that probably means that I'm trying to understand what I so, so I thought that a good start would be to talk about what authenticity is in general. And so authenticity
Mm-hmm.
in the outer world is whatever's going on out here, whatever people see, whatever you're putting out, it matches whatever's on inside. Something is authentic, that means it's real, it's genuine, it's not copied, it's the only one. And so
Mm-hmm.
that everyone comes into this life, everyone comes into this universe world as a unique expression of consciousness, of source, of if you believe in God, everyone is supposed to be a unique expression of that. And so everyone has their own unique thing. So I think it's very important that we really embrace whatever makes us, because whenever you dismiss or suppress your own needs, wants, and desires, you are going to do that to other people. And so the better we get at accepting ourselves, the better we get at accepting other people's authentic selves. And it's a big circle of just good stuff happening.
Exactly. Um, I love that. And so I also agree, like the fact that we kind of, well, I won't even say kind of, we pretty much copy everything that we do. Our brains absorb literally everything, and of course, you can feel like you're not doing what other people are doing. But as we can see in the way that we choose the professions we take, even the outlooks that we have on life in general, it's copying something that has already been established before we were even created.
Yeah, and in essence, everyone's personality to a certain extent is fake because everything about your personality you took on or you copied from someone, whether it be a parent, a friend, a teacher, someone you met randomly one day. And so none of us are perfect. I don't think anyone's perfect at being their authentic self, but there are definitely some of us, I would like to say, including myself, that definitely embrace or accept much more of it than other people do. But when you look around, there's a lot of inauthenticities around. You have people that work at jobs that they hate. That's inauthentic. You have people that hang around people that they don't like. That's inauthentic. You even have people that say they don't know how to do something. You'll have someone say, "Oh, I'm not artistic," or "Oh, I'm not a singer. I'm not a dancer," when they've really just suppressed that part of themselves because they're embarrassed or they don't have high self-esteem. And so we really are surrounded by people that are struggling with some form of inauthenticity.
How do you get to the point of, because for just trying to think of how someone that may not be living in their most authentic realm, I'm trying to imagine how we could break that fog that they may have of thinking, oh, well, because if you say that your life is fake, or you come at me and you only take one piece of what was just said, how do we establish that so
Mm-hmm.
that they can grasp that?
I think one of my favorite exercises that I like to tell people about or give people is to be a fly on the wall for yourself. Be a fly on the wall in your own space and observe your moves, not other people's. So really, like whenever you're interacting with someone, when you're having a conversation, when you're doing something at home, look at yourself from an objective point of view and look at your body language. Look at, are your shoulders slumped? Do you feel tight? Look at when you're talking to someone, like look at how you're standing when you talk to them. When you're out doing something, like look at how you are, how you seem compared to everybody else. I think it really starts with kind of practicing looking at yourself before you go out and start looking at other people. But it's helped me in multiple situations to like really just kind of look and be like, if I was looking at me from across the room, how would I come across? Or like, would it really seem like this is my, would my intentions match my actions per se? And so
Yeah.
a good place to start or a good exercise to practice doing.
Yeah. Once you brought that up to me in the interview, it kind of stuck with me. And it also was at a time where I had been like consistently watching videos about nonverbal analysts. So these people that technically this is not admissible in court. You can't use it as evidence because it's only 70 to 80% accurate, but it's an art and you have to study people. And so this particular individual that I watched, he started doing it because people in his life were lying to him. And so he had studied for so long, and he breaks down the behaviors that we typically do and what that can mean. It's not always a guarantee. There's so many different meanings in the way we even do things, but from there, just kind of put things into perspective that not only should I really read the room or
Mm-hmm.
whoever I'm talking with, and how I'm addressing things with another person, but even more so, as you said, being objective and looking at myself and seeing like, even when I rewatch these lives, I watch my behavior. I watch, if I'm shaking my head and I
Right.
really mean no or something, um, am I truly meaning the things that I'm saying? So I definitely resonate with that.
That's it's something that definitely takes practice. It's just not easy to look at yourself objectively because it's very hard not to side with yourself. Or it's very hard to like not to tell yourself like that's probably not the best thing to do, or that's, you probably could have done that better. But it's a good thing to put in practice. And then a kind of like a little footnote side note off of that is you have to be willing to look bad to yourself and to other.
Mm,
And that goes back to what I said about your personality is copies from your little things you picked up from all of these different people. And so just because you look bad to this person has nothing to do with someone maybe on the complete other side of the world, or a culture or a belief system or a society somewhere else. And so we label everything, like here in America, we have things that we deem as bad and we have things that we think are good. But you could take those exact two things, put them in a country for 5,000 miles from here, and they probably tell you the exact same thing about those two things. And so if you really want to be authentic, you have to be willing to look bad to the people around you, because if you look bad to them, that really has nothing to do with how you feel about you. And you also have to be willing to maybe look bad to yourself, because that's how you change your perspective. That's how you open your mind up to learning new things and having new opportunities, possibilities, all that good stuff.
yes. It's definitely been a challenge, but that's something that I definitely face the further I get towards what I know that I want to do, the feelings that I feel, and who I choose to have in my space. I know for sure that that's very prevalent when it comes to family members, to extended family, even my in-laws. I can appear a certain way to really anybody.
Yeah.
And it took a while for it to be me festering over that and trying to prove why I'm not that way, instead of me just continuing on my path and realizing that the things that they project is a reflection of them.
Right. Right. A perfect example that I definitely picked up. And then what's funny is when I wrote it down, I was like, some people are gonna be really, really mad at me, but I don't care. And if anyone that's watching this already follows me, so I'm not really sorry. That's a sorry, not sorry type of thing. But
Yeah.
example is people that have multiple social accounts, people that have two Facebooks or two Instagrams. They have one for their coworkers and their family and their whatever, and then they have another one that they keep on private that shows their true desires, that shows their true wants, their true whatever. And one thing that I've always found interesting about that is those same people always tend to be stressed about something, or those same people always seem to feel like something's just missing or something's not right, or I never feel like, well, you're literally living two separate lives. You're putting energy into something that is not you at your core at all. That's why you're stressed, tired. That's why you're bored. That's why you feel run out. And so a lot of people will make excuses for why they have two accounts. Oh, well, I can't show my coworkers that side of me. Well, then why do you work there? Go work somewhere where you don't have to be somebody else when you're at work, which is where you are most of the time. People don't like to hear that, but that's the reality of the situation. And so I think that's a good example of you being inauthentic without you even realizing it, because you think you're doing something good for you by having this professional page, when in reality you're splitting yourself and you're forcing yourself to put on or paint a picture that's not there.
Exactly. And I have never, or I had never seen people, even when it comes to entrepreneurs, I have, even myself, I do have two pages. I have one that's for my birth business. I have one that's for, just the one that I've always had. But I have both of them the same exact information on both.
Right. And
But
yeah, yeah.
like in situations where there are individuals that, like Dr. Midwife, for example, she's a certified nurse midwife out in Alabama. She literally decided, fuck this shit. I'm not going to stay in a medical institution. I'm going to create a free birthing space. And she's going to say everything that's on her mind. So everything that she does, nobody can control her. And she doesn't change herself for anybody. And I think that meeting people throughout last year, including you, has really shown me that you can truly do what you want to do, and everybody else that resonates with that will be there. And even if no one's there, it
Mhm.
just matters that you are feeling good about what you do.
It's important to feel good about what you do, though, so you can continue to do it. Because a lot of people feel like they're always like, "Well, I can never finish what I start." Well, do you ever start things that you actually like, or
Mm.
are you just starting a bunch of stuff? Well, that's why you're not finished. You're not starting anything that you like. Um, but it also helps, or it's beneficial to be authentic when it comes to your relationships. I know personally, I have friends that they do have a pattern of having a hard time finding someone that they feel like they can stick with, or that can stick with them, but they're not being their true authentic selves. They're being who they think that person wants. And when you do that, you're not even giving that person the choice to actually really like who you are. Not only are you not giving them the choice, you're taking away their ability to choose whether or not they want to be with you. But that's why you feel like something's missing, or why there's like that disconnect, because that's not really who you are, and you're not attracting someone that goes with who you really are. And so if you ever really want someone to love you, you have to be who you are. Otherwise, who they gonna love? If you're
Exactly.
happy with you, what do you want them to love? You want them to love you, or do you want them to love the role that you're playing? Because you can't play that role forever. You got to walk on stage. Um, and so it's very hard to be authentic. I'm not saying it's easy, but life's not easy and life's not fair. So there's that. It's not easy, but it's beneficial and it feels good. And I think as humans, we kind of like to be challenged. Challenge is kind of what drives us. It's what pushes us. And so I would rather my challenge be me trying to be authentic, or me working towards my authentic self, than my challenge be like forcing my surroundings to me, or forcing myself to be like my surroundings.
And when you were just saying that, it kind of it brought up a thought that I was having yesterday about the fact that because me and my partner talk about, you know if you ever hear the saying of, like, I wish I could write down everything that's ever happened in my life. It could be, like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times when it comes to jobs, when it comes to the police, when it comes to literally anybody, they don't want to hear the entire realm of who you are. They want something that's cut and dry.
One
It's
that
like,
that everyone gives a thumbs up for. Yep.
exactly. And I think that that's another issue, is because we don't want to truly see how dynamic life can be and how it can truly impact a person throughout life. Um, and
But
yeah, it
also,
is like a movie.
that has to do with what I was saying earlier. When you aren't authentic, you don't want other people to be authentic, because it eats away at you, something that you wish you could do. And so that's piggybacking off what you said about kind of how we treat each other, or how it's I think you just said it. I forgot what your words were. But it just made me think about how, when large groups of people, or when we're inauthentic for so long, it like has no choice but to affect the rest of us, or it has no choice but to affect everybody else. Because if you have so many people not being authentic because they think this is bad, or this shouldn't be allowed, or whatever, of course they're going to force that on other people. Because, well, I'm not being authentic, so you can't. Like, you definitely can't, because I don't want to do that. And so that's why I'm such like a pusher for it, and why I think it's so important, because it's the root of so many other issues that we have. And
So yeah, so many other issues. And what's insane is because for the past couple weeks, shit has been on like a standstill for me. I'm literally at home, not working, not really doing anything, but which is great.
relatable.
Um, and one of the things that I did choose to do was I attended the birthing advocacy doula trainings. They had a virtual retreat.
Mm-hmm.
And I joined that and connected with so many individuals all across the country, all across the world, possibly. And it was multiple things that I am going to, be bringing up later on. But one thing that truly impacted me that has everything to do with authenticity has to be purity culture, and just talking about how no matter what upbringing you had, and I know in states like Texas where we are very racist, where we are very oppressive, and it's a lot of judgments on how you do things. When it comes to sex, when it comes to education about anatomy, when it comes to the fluidity of genders and so many different things, uh, everybody has experienced where we have been pressured to believe a certain thing, and people don't really connect two and two together, and why you feel the way that you do about things, why you respond in a homophobic manner, or why you respond in certain ways. And even for me, for example, just with my sexual experiences, feeling a like terror. Like, does it make sense for you to enjoy, being in that space with your significant other when you feel like, I'm being tainted, or like I'm not a good person, or I'm never going, I'm gonna burn in fucking hell. Like, it's all intertwined in what do you truly feel inside.
Mm-hmm. I think that also says a lot about how it's okay if what you feel doesn't match your surroundings, and that's why I love when I see people that move halfway across the world and they love it, and it looks like I've never seen them happier. Even people who move cities away, but I love watching people move out of their environment, because that is where you really kind of give yourself a fresh start in the sense of being able to attract things that are for you. Because what happens to a lot of people is, I think, when you stay in the exact same place where you were and you're always there, that's all you know, and you
Mm.
know what you know. And so if you've always been told that these things are bad, these things are good, these things we don't do, these things we do, and you've never seen or heard or whatever anything different, but inside you feel different, that's going to slowly kill you, and it's going to drive you crazy, and you're going to feel like something's wrong with you because you don't know that there's anything else out there. And so I'm a really big person on traveling, moving, visiting friends that live whatever, because you have to be exposed to what else is out there, because there's so much that whatever environment you're born, there's bound to be one thing that you don't like mesh with. There's bound to be one thing that you're just like, I don't know about that, because we're too diverse. And
I
sexuality
agree.
huge part, especially as women, especially as women, because men, well, at least I can speak for our society, men are encouraged to be sexual. They're known to just be sexual. They have high sex drives. But women, we have to be very submissive, and we have to be very prude, and we can't. And so when it comes to sexuality, that's definitely something that's very hard to be authentic about, in this world, in today's world.
So what has 2020 brought up for you? What are the meanings that you got from your experience?
2020 was the best of times, and it was the worst of times. Um, it was such a like horrible but awesome year, and so it's going to be such an interesting year to talk about forever moving forward, because I really could go on. But one thing that it definitely did for me was that it forced me to get to know myself. Not that I was a total stranger to myself before, but when quarantine first went down and I stayed home, wasn't going anywhere, wasn't doing anything, it was just me at my house. I learned so much about myself that felt right or felt good, because all the other things I had been doing was almost like I was performing. It was almost like I was putting on a show for other people. I was being who this person needed me to be, who this person needed me to be. I'm a people pleaser almost to a fault, and that's something that I'm working on. But I'm always just trying to make sure everybody's good. I'm always trying to make sure the vibes are good, the rooms are good, make sure everybody feels good. And so I was always doing what I thought was expected of me. But when quarantine happened and I'm not going to the club, I'm not going to parties, I'm not having brunch, I'm not, and it's just me. I was like, oh, I actually don't like doing that, or I actually don't like being around this person. I actually don't like dressing like this. I actually don't like talking. And so it just threw so much in my face about like, wow, you really been performing. You really been performing for people. And so it knocked me down, but it had to, because that's how I get back up. And so that's what inspired me to really just talk about authenticity, because I thought that I was being authentic. If you would ask me in the beginning of 2020, are you an authentic person? I'm like, hell yeah, like of course I'm authentic. What you mean? Uh, but now that 2020 is over, if I was looking back at it, now that I kind of can relate more to what authenticity should feel like, what I think it feels like, I can look back and be like, nah, sis, you wasn't being.
Mm.
You were not. But it's okay because the more you know, the better you do. So I'm glad that I figured it out.
Um, let's if you have something that you want to specifically bring up right now, we can dive into that because I was thinking about talking about the dynamics between parents and children.
Oh no, that's fine with me because I have another.
Okay, perfect.
Oh wait, actually no. I have this is one thing I do want to bring up. There's another thing I think that's up, but it's a really good point. So a red flag for if you're living an inauthentic lifestyle is if you're somebody who says, "Oh, I need alone time." Look, oh yeah, I always need my alone time. Oh yeah, I have to have my alone time. And I'm kind of calling myself out because I used to be like this. But there are a lot of people who they will swear to you that they just have to have alone time. And I'm gonna tell you why that doesn't make sense. One, humans, we're a social species. Isolation is literally how we die. It's what kills us. We naturally have to be around other people. We bond off connections. Whenever people say they want alone time, they don't mean from their dogs or their pets or their plants. They don't mean from other living things. They mean they need alone time from people. And so why do you need so much alone time from other people? Probably because you're not being authentic or you're surrounded by people who you can't express your true thoughts and desires to, or you can't do whatever. And so that was kind of a red flag for me, especially before quarantine happened. Was I would have been the type of person like, oh, I'm going to love this alone time. I'm excited about quarantine. I love alone time. No, you don't. You hate alone time, but you like alone time because like you're away from people and you feel like you can be yourself because you're not surrounded by whatever. So a lot of people don't like to hear that when you really think about it. Whenever people claim they need alone time, it's never from living things. It's just from people.
Yeah.
So have a conversation with yourself and ask yourself, why do I need so much alone time from people so much? But that was it.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's one of my love favorites. You're welcome. But no, I'm definitely. But no, go and whatever you want to say about children and parents. I'm here for it. Let's get it.
It's so much. I think the reason why was because after you did the live with Lonnie about breaking generational curses, and that dialogue really sparked for me, how much how much of a dynamic there is. And even the live that I did last night, it kind of when my friend Mora, she brought up the fact about when she said chattel, I immediately thought about slavery and, you know, inferiority and the fact that we were treated like that. And so that has been a transition into how we raised our kids as well. So that's literally the embodiment in the ways that we parent in a lot of ways. And it's so many things that wraps around it, but I think that was the one thing that stuck with me because I'm constantly seeing where I am playing a part in that and where I'm also trying to diffuse that and try to bring in some healthiness to it at the same time.
Well, no, that's a one reason why people shouldn't beat themselves up if they do finally realize that they are being inauthentic or they do kind of notice that they aren't being their true selves. It's no reason to beat yourself up. It's not something to get mad about because you can't really control it. As kids, because of the relationships that we have with our parents, if we want our needs met, if we want to survive in the house or society, if you want to have a chance at feeling love and belonging and connection, you have to adapt to the values of that household, of that society. You have to be what that environment needs you to be, or you get ostracized or you get pushed out. And so when you do that as a kid, of course, if you continue that cycle as you get older, you don't really think anything of it until it's brought to your attention or you become aware of it. But you can't beat yourself up. It's something that you've been doing for forever. But that's why it's important to talk about so that that cycle can be broken, and so that it's not something that we have to continue to repeat. Because I think a problem that, and I don't have children, and I hate when people say, well, you don't have kids and you can't give me parenting advice. And I'm like, I was a child. I was a child for 16, 17 years. I know what it feels like to be a child. I'm not ignorant how children need to be spoken to or how they like to be treated. Um, and one thing that I think that a lot of parents struggle with is they treat their kids like pieces of clay that like they can mold, and they're going to shape their kid into whatever they want their piece of clay to be shaped like. That's why I had a kid, because my kid is going to do this and it's going to like this and whatever, and they're shaping their kid. But that's not the point. When you have a kid, you're supposed to let your kid unfold however they may. They form however they may, and you're there to help guide them. You can facilitate, make sure that they don't do nothing stupid. But I think a lot of parents take the molding process too seriously and they really shape their children. And then when your kid doesn't fit that mold that you spent so much time preparing for them, you get upset and it causes this whole train wreck or cycle of inauthenticity and people keeping things to themselves and a bunch of other bad stuff.
Yes, and you also brought up that side of that we don't realize that they are the next generation of adults. They're literally just small adults.
Little adults.
And I also think that it's kind of strange to me why it has to be a cutoff at 18 because we are the only animals on earth that has this weaning or like raising our young for
Well,
this long.
we take longer than any other animal. Humans, like babies, dependency on their parents. Ours is longer than any other animal. Like I think most animals cap it like 2 or 3 years, and it's like if you drop a 2 or 3 year off by yourself anywhere, you're like, what? And so I do think it's weird that we do put an age limit on it in general because it's long as hell. And when you're a parent forever. So what's the age limit for? Did you only sign up to have me for 18 years? But that's a different discussion in itself. But it's the relationship that we have with our parents, or even the relationship they have with us, is definitely something that I wish was discussed more.
I agree because I wonder like because from what I see on just how it's always been, even in like reality TV or whatever, there's never a true sit down.
Mm.
It's always like, okay, we're gonna fight, or someone is they can't their defense mechanisms are so strong that they can't even handle normal conversation. And I've seen this unfold in so many different individuals. And so I'm wondering like and ultimately it has to come from the parent as well wanting to have that space to work through things, but I wonder like what that can look like in a healthier way so that other people can learn new ways to bring that into their space either with their parents or whoever they need to have space with.
That's hard for me to answer because I really do think it does differ from case to case. Um, and I don't want to speak blanketly for every relationship or situation.
Mm,
But even at its root, at its core, it kind of goes to what we've been talking about: is everybody just needs to be themselves, be yourselves, be vulnerable, like be honest, like get it out there. And even with the whole like we're gonna sit down and we're gonna fight, we're gonna get down, get defensive. It's because somebody's being dishonest. It's because somebody's not being themselves. It's because somebody's trying to sugarcoat it. Like the root of it always just goes back to people are not themselves. They are not authentic, and it's so frustrating because it's so obvious to everybody, but we don't do it because of this reason, this reason, this reason. But it's very frustrating that it's something that I think we all like recognize. It's like the elephant in the room, and we're all, you gonna talk about it? You gonna do it? You gonna do it? And so I can't speak for too much for the older generation because I'm not a part of theirs. But one thing that I've noticed with ours, and especially with Gen Z is on everybody's ass. But I kind of like the awakening that's happening, or I like the conversations that have been going on because it definitely seems to be a much more popular topic, and it seems to be an accepted topic by people within our age range. So hopefully, the people that are having children within our age range take these lessons and apply them to their children, and we can start a healthier cycle.
I love that.
Come on,
I agree.
I'm claiming. I'm claiming. I make my reality. That's the one I want.
Exactly, because I named my child. His name's meaning is basically that he has enough force to literally uproot everything that ever was and replace it with who he is.
Ooh, I love that. What's his name? I got. You got to tell the name now. You got to tell us the name.
Grayson.
Means greatest gift of the treasures of the head. What's the name, sis?
Yes. Grayson is his first name
I love.
and his middle name is James. So it's like both of them combined mean essentially the same thing, uprooting and making change.
That's a very nice. I like that. Strong name. I wish I could say the same. And the only reason I don't. I'm sure my name has different definitions in different parts of the world, but in maybe fifth or sixth grade, I'm not sure. We had to do a little project, look up. And so Jacqueline in China means a man trapped in a woman's body. And the reason that like that's always stuck with me, or why I find that very interesting, is I've always considered myself to be someone who has a very even balance of their masculine and feminine energy. And I think that the way that I express myself, whether it be the way I speak and my personality, how I dress, whatever, is always very balanced. And so I do think that's interesting that that's what that name means. Do I feel like a man inside? No, I don't think that there is like a man trapped inside my body. That's not how I feel at all. But I can see how that myth or that legend would kind of come through me as I'm a aggressive, dominant woman, in a sense. So I guess it relates, it plays out. That's probably not what my mom had in mind at all, but
Yeah. I definitely, and it's very interesting to me though that because I was thinking about this morning, the fact that I had never really met another Stephanie, and I had never met another Jackie until last year. Like, of course, you can hear the name, but I never met anybody that had a specific like connection of some sort. Because I have a cousin named Jackie, but then you kind of came up and kind of blew me away, honestly, just from first meeting you and then learning what I have learned from you.
Thank you. Don't make me cry.
Yeah. Yes. I love every aspect. I even love the fact that you consider yourself yin and yang as well. I love that symbolism.
Yes, like I don't consider myself singular on any in any form, like nowhere. And sometimes it's frustrating. Overall, it's really fun, especially now that I've kind of realized it. And I think that to put anything about me in one singular category would be limiting my potential, and that goes for everybody because humans, we have limitless potential. So to tell anyone that you're masculine or you're soft or you're better at art or whatever, like that limits everything. And so I just do everything and I say whatever and I embody all parts of me because I think that's kind of the point.
It is. It exactly is the point. Um, what what does choosing vulnerability mean to you?
Oof. Choosing vulnerability really kind of means to lay yourself on the line in the sense of, and this is something I experienced very recently. So it's like a quote that's been stuck in my head because I saw the quote maybe like a week or two ago, and it kind of like started this whole avalanche of like thoughts and things and revelations of things I need to do. But it says it's okay to be sad about doing the right thing, or it's okay to be sad about making the right decision. And so I think that's a good summary or a good way to sum up kind of my answer to that is to be vulnerable is to go through with what feels right to you, go through with what feels true to you, regardless of the emotions that you know are going to come, or regardless of what might happen from the outside, whatever. It's just like you just got to do it because you know you got to do it, or you got to say it because you know you got to say it. And so I'm sure there's a much better like Webster's definition. But to me, vulnerability is really just like pushing through, just being like, all right, fuck it, like let's get it over with, type of thing. Which is not easy.
Yeah.
Definitely not easy for me. I hate being vulnerable. You kind of, if I'm being honest, you really kind of got to like shove me in a corner to be vulnerable. And that's something I'm working on. I don't like it at all, but that's because growing up and as a kid, whenever I was vulnerable, it did backlash and it didn't go well for me. So as an adult, I have a tendency to completely run away from being like that. I don't want to. I'm terrified of the things that happened to me when I was younger. But we working on it. I can only do one thing at a time. I'm working on authenticity. Vulnerability will be next.
Yeah.
After.
It's strange because I feel like I've had to connect myself to what vulnerability actually means because I think that I always felt like it was like, okay, putting myself out there and like showing my wounds and like being like very open to other people. I was doing that because that's something I had adapted from being very young. And then just like wanting to connect with other people. I don't think it was about me wanting to like be friends with everybody. I think it was just like, let's have connection on a level that we all can feel and sense. And that kind of evolved into um, me constantly being okay with putting my, like just speaking on my experience and being where I am and not necessarily feeling fear about talking about my experiences, but your reflection of what choosing vulnerability means it actually brings everything to the surface of where I am in the present moment. Because I was just talking about this last night where um, I need to feel my feelings. Because
Mm-hmm.
I am a very, like, I feel things and, like, I'm very, like, all the things. But I think that there are things that are suppressed
Mm-hmm.
in me. And it's kind of like, it'll, like, something will happen. It doesn't have to be positive or negative. I could be doing something and I'll like go back and reflect on it and I can feel an emotion surfacing. Like, okay, I need to like really sob right now, but then it'll just kind of go back in. Or
Well,
I need to fucking scream.
that's like people, they dismiss, they suppress things, and you think by doing that, you think you're not feeding it, you think you're not giving into it. Well, you are,
Mm.
but instead of giving into it consciously, you're giving into it with suppression and denial and dismissiveness, and so that's why it does come to the surface without you've you've gotten rid of control. You didn't want to deal with it, so it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna deal with it on my own. I'm gonna do it myself. That's exactly what happens. Is you tell yourself, oh, that's fine, that's not there, and it's like, oh, I'm not here. Bet. I'm gonna show you who's not here when you least expect it, since you don't
Yeah,
take control.
exactly. My shit is just like, nah, I'm overloaded. I can no longer like I'm like leaking out of the seams. So it's like at any point,
Yep.
even with the hormones and everything, outside of that, I feel like it doesn't even matter. Like I'm just unraveling.
Mm-hmm. That's why you got to deal with it. If anybody, wait, I don't think I don't have it close to me. But I'm a book nerd. But if anybody needs a book suggestion, now it's gonna bother me because I know it's probably like here now. But anyway, it's called the book is called Why Good People Do Bad Things. I'm gonna say it one more time for anybody who needs it. It's called Why Good People Do Bad Things, and it's about exploring our darker selves. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book that does a really good job at explaining shadow work, explaining kind of what the shadow is, because a lot of people think it's very scary. They think it's very bad. But it's an amazing book. It's called Why Good People Do Bad Things. Easily one of the most, my top 3 favorite books ever. Like, it's going to be a book I keep for years. Really good book on explaining how to deal and how to accept and how to work with that part of yourself.
If that's your top three, I want to know what the other two are.
Oh, I don't, it's not going to take me long. Hold on, because I was using one of the notes. First of all, anybody who's watching this right now needs to buy this book right now. I need you to go on Amazon. I need you to go to tealswan.com. Whatever y'all see all the post-its I got in here. If I was to like really, can I flip my camera? I can't flip my camera, can I? Like y'all, like I go through this book. Like this book is going to be mine for years. It's such a good book. It's called The Anatomy of Loneliness: How to Find Your Way Back to Connection by Teal Swan. Easily one of the most amazing books I've ever read in my life, hands down. Second favorite, damn. Second favorite easily would have to be Waking Up by Sam Harris, A Guide to Spirituality Without Religion. This is for anybody who feels like they're kind of on their spiritual journey, wanting to begin, wanting to understand it a little better, but you are not a fan of religion, because that explains me perfectly. It is a difficult read. It's not a book that you can just read page, page, page. I only did a chapter a day because it is a little intense. But the way that he explains thoughts and consciousness and all this other stuff is just beautiful.
Mm.
So definitely The Anatomy of Loneliness by Teal Swan, Waking Up by Sam Harris, and then I have it around here somewhere, but it's called Why Good People Do Bad Things by it's by never mind, I see it. Yeah, Hawk Eyesight. See, I keep all my favorite books downstairs for a reason. Yeah. This is the one I was talking about though. That's fantastic. Really, really good book for anybody who wants that one. But all 3 of them, those are probably my top 3 and the 3 that come to mind, because those are 3 books that I read last year that really changed my life and changed my perspective on a lot, and really kind of did start my spiritual awakening or my spiritual journey. And all 3 of those books do a really good job at kind of helping me understand better ways to deal with my anxiety, deal with my overthinking, and deal with the way that I present myself to the world. So that's why those 3 are like, as soon as you said top 3, those 3 covers, it was like boom, 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 easy.
I will add the titles and authors into the description
Okay.
once when this live is done. So that way people can look it up, access it, or whatever they need to. I definitely will be reading those this year because I need to.
Love that Teal Swan book. Like, just from talking to you and interacting with you, you were the type of person that will benefit greatly. Like, it's amazing.
Thank you, because I definitely need some things that are gonna be focused on what I'm looking for sure.
Got you. Got you.
Okay, so since we're talking about, just being authentic in itself, um, how do you even get there? Like, what are the tools or the steps to even get to being the most authentic that you can be?
I think one, like, stop giving a fuck. And by that, I don't mean stop giving a fuck as far as like how you treat people and talk to people or whatever. But I mean, in all honesty, if your authentic self is to be kind of nasty to people, that's something you examine. So if there really is kind of when you do get rid of all fucks, again, that's something you might need to work. Um, but you have to stop worrying about what other people think, do, or say because, like I said earlier, all of our personalities are fake. All of us are a bunch of pieces of a bunch of different people. So when you remind yourself that we're all doing that and that we're all like that, and if we would all just be authentic, it would kind of help us all be authentic. Then you can take that kind of first step and be like, well, I guess I'll lead by example. Um, or what's the quote that I was going to say earlier? One of my favorite quotes is every act of self love is like love for everybody because we're all one. We're all connected. We're all the same. So every time you do something for yourself, you are doing something for other people because when you take care of yourself, you take better care of the people around you. Um, and so if you really want to be authentic, if that's something that you really want to strive for and really want to do, you got to say fuck it and you just got to do it. And you got to not worry about what everybody else is going to say or do because you really never know who you're going to inspire. You never know who you're going to motivate. You never know who will start their own journey to authenticity just because you started yours. And so you have to do it for you because it's got to be like a very personal thing. And I don't think that's selfish. I think that's very important that we take care of ourselves because the better we do that, the better we can do everything else.
Yeah. I yeah, that that's really all it is to it and just applying it every day.
We have to be authentic in every area. And it's like I said, it's not easy, but it's worth it.
Definitely.
Like I said, 2020 was awful. It whooped my ass, but I've learned so much about myself and other things that coming into this year, there are so many less things that I'm worried about or confused about or wondering about because now I know. So you gonna get shaked around a little bit, but you're gonna come out on the other end all right. It's worth it.
Definitely some shit's gonna get shaken up. You
Yeah,
not yeah.
already started. Trust me, this year is not going to be normal. This year is not going to be a relaxed period. So, if you were distracting yourself in 2020, if you were one of the people that was still acting like life was going to go back to normal, or you were still out wilding like nothing's changed, you really finna get your shit rocked this year. Because some of us, we got our practice last year. We're practiced. We're veterans at life now.
Yeah.
Some of y'all gonna have to catch up. Something didn't like coming, so start getting ready.
Yeah. I really wasn't I never really understood why, because of the fact that we measure time. I believe that's why we do the thing, but I don't think that once the year shifts into the next that it's so somehow magically a refresher. You can make it, any moment a refresher, but
Feel better, yes, but it doesn't actually mean anything. It's just another day of the sun coming up and another day of it going down and coming the next day. So I feel you on that for sure.
um and I guess the last thing that I would have to ask is, how has therapy helped you, and what have you you learned recently about yourself through your journey going to therapy?
So the first thing that comes to mind is therapy taught me that I don't know everything. And what I mean by that is I'm the therapy friend. Like I'm who all my friends come for advice, something when they whatever. That's the friend I am. So going to therapy, my mind I don't already know. She's not going to tell me something that I haven't read about myself, and so I kind of did go into it thinking that I was learning that she wasn't going to say anything I needed to hear, and I was completely wrong. So that was the first thing that really took me off guard was, oh, okay, she can tell me some things that I don't know. And then it was also funny because I felt it's kind of like having a conversation with myself, and I'm kind of able to see how I do come off to some people, and now I see why I do get on my friends and everything because if there's something wrong, she's my but she says things sometimes. I'm like, sis, lower your voice. Like I didn't ask you to say all that, but what's funny is my friends have those reactions to me a lot of the time, and so now I know not to take it so personally. Like they're not
Mm,
not getting angry with me or getting annoyed with me because of really what I said. They just weren't really ready to hear. And so
right.
I understand that. That kind of helps me handle their reactions more. I know, okay, it wasn't really a me thing. Like, I'm sorry that I triggered that within you. That wasn't my intention. But I used to take things very personally, so it helps me with that. But I would have never seen myself as the type of person to be like, go to therapy. It's great. It's amazing. But now I'm like, nah, y'all need go to therapy, please, please. Like, let that person reflect some things back on you, because I think a lot of people are like me and they think that this person is just going to like sit there and lecture them, but it really is just more so about them giving you space to let your thoughts go and let your thoughts flow without interruption and without bias and without, and when you're given that opportunity, you'd be surprised at what comes out your mouth. You'd be surprised at what answers come to your head on your own, just because someone like guided you through the process or walked you through the process. So it's honestly amazing.
It is. I honestly don't have any other words for it. And I think because this time around, because I've had, trial and error, because you will go through trial and error sometimes when you're finding the therapist that you choose, and definitely find somebody that is similar. I mean, it's up to you who you want, but a white man is not going to be the first choice for me to talk to me about my experience and like reflect some shit back to me. So right now, I'm seeing someone, or I have been since I gave birth to my daughter in November of 2019, and it's been so consistent, and I'm very happy about it. I love the fact that like she can pick up on when things have been very stressful for me, and I haven't processed that all this shit is stressful. And so it's like, okay, now I need to see you every week and not every 2 weeks until we can like really get through, and also, as you said, not really just giving you advice. She'll give me like things to try to like be aware of, or things to practice. Like right now, I need to be listening to music that resonates with the emotions that I'm feeling, because I'm somebody that is like suppressing shit. But it is a reflection thing. Like she's absorbing what I'm saying and giving me clear, unbiased reflection back. It's not the same as going and talking to your homegirl or talking to your mom or talking to somebody that knows you in the ways that they know you.
True, very true. Originally, I was seeking, or I wanted a black therapist, a black woman therapist. But my therapist now, she is white, but she's a white lesbian, and her wife is also a therapist. Like they're both therapists, which I think is cute. And I
Yeah.
be a fly on the wall for their conversation. Um, but I like about her is that if I ever discuss my sexuality or I have questions or concerns or whatever, as a woman, like those questions, those like that. So that's one thing that I definitely was that I have found very handy with her, that I actually didn't think about, because when I was seeking a black woman therapist, I didn't even think about their sexual orientation. It hadn't even crossed my mind. But thinking about it, it would be difficult for me to open up to a straight woman about some of the things that I've experienced or going through.
Mm.
So like she would just be there like, okay.
I agree. And I think that that's important. And then it's like, of course, as you at first, you wouldn't even think anything of it, but you actually have to consider that because you want someone to hold a safe space for you, um, and not have someone possibly be on that other side,
Right.
either bringing judgment or just bringing, a block. It needs to be an open space for whoever you are and how you choose to enter that space.
Right.
I agree with that 100%.
It's been awesome. For anybody listening that's been looking for a sign to get therapy, this is your sign. This is the universe telling you on this live at the right time. It's your sign to get therapy. It's amazing. I promise you, it's worth it. Go do that shit.
Definitely. It's not whatever the defense mechanisms that people respond with when it's therapy, that means that you are crazy. But no, it's not crazy. And it's also like, oh, I need to go and pray about it. Um,
No,
or
you need
I need to go, yeah.
to open up. You need to talk to somebody that talk to you back directly, automatically, clearly, visible. Like you need to bounce back. You need to have someone do that with you. No, it's super beneficial. It can be very uncomfortable at first, but it's awesome. And you can't knock it till you try it. A lot of people hate therapy and they're against it, but they've never ever tried it, never done it. So try it, and if you hate it, you hate it. At least you can say you tried it. But I feel like you can't knock it till you try it,
Yeah,
and it's worth trying.
definitely. And if you are somebody that has Medicaid or any of like the free insurance, you can get it for free. So it's there for you. And DM me if you need like information on how to get that, because I definitely know, because I have free therapy.
Super dope. Yes, no, please hit her up. That's awesome.
But yeah, is there anything else that came up for you during this time? Because the last time, like when we interviewed, that was let me see. I don't even have the date up here, which is so weird. Had this been about maybe a month or two ago?
Actually, it was the weekend of like early December. It would have been like December 4th or 5th.
Okay, so it hasn't been that long, but between then and now, is there anything else that has come up for you that you want to bring into the space?
Mm-mm. No, I think I did a pretty good job at getting things that I had noted or listed off into the collective. I hope whoever needed to hear what they needed to hear heard it.
I agree. I really, yeah, I'm overjoyed. I'm super, just ecstatic about how um it's went, and just I love to see where you're going, where I'm going. It just makes me excited for whoever hears this and gets the inspiration, but more so how our journeys continue to flourish and where we go from here, because it's going to be nothing but consistent
Mhm.
transitional change.
Exactly. Yep. Facts. Big
For
facts.
sure. All right. I guess that's it. So for everybody that stayed to the end, thank you so much. This was the Iconoclast series.
Before we leave, I totally lied. Wow, this is my ADHD. I'm sorry.
Oh my God, what is it?
A series ever on like anything about doulas or something like that. So I feel like I may have mentioned this when we spoke, but I'm not sure. But I think it's very interesting that you're a birth doula, because I'm kind of interested in becoming a death doula. Uh,
Yes, I forgot to ask you about that. It's right here. Yes.
that sounds cool as fuck. So I'm looking into that now. I was actually looking at stuff about it earlier, but I'll message you about that separately. But I just wanted to get that out there off my chest into the air. That if you ever want to do like a doula type thing, I'm looking at death doula, and I think that'd be really cool to talk about the contrast or the comparison between a birth doula, a death.
I would love to. And what you talked about when it came to death doulas, because I've seen articles on them, like people, especially black women that are in that profession or that aspect of birth work,
Mm-hmm.
because it's all life work. And so you talked about the fact that what it really boils down to, what a lot of people end up needing, is that you need someone to truly support you. It could be the person that is dying. It could be the person that is there, having to deal with a loved one dying. It's so many different aspects that you can support. And the one thing that I love that you brought up was the fact that a lot of people that need it, that are, going to die or transition out of this life, they end up, all of the things that they didn't do, all the emotions and things that they had suppressed, they want to come to terms with that before they leave the earth. And so that's what that person is there for.
And I feel like it's such a interesting. It goes along with things that I like to do. But again, I'm gonna look more into it, and I'll make sure that we chat about that separately. But I definitely want to get that up because I think that'd be a dope talk.
Definitely. And I'm going to connect with some other people and try to find out who is, and if are out here in the internet space,
Oh,
if you know any death doulas, definitely send them my way. But I'm going to do some research and connect with you on that too, because I believe that you would be amazing at it.
if you find any on Instagram, especially Black women, please send their profiles to me or something like that. Please, I'd really like that.
Will do. All right. Thank you, everyone that stayed to the end. Anybody that catches the replay, this was the Iconoclast series of 2021. I am Stephanie Jack, here
It's
with
me,
Jackie B.
Wolf.
Yes,
Ow.
Jackie of all trades. Yeah. Everybody have a good night.
Good night, y'all.
Peace.